Hey everybody, Adhpa here. Welcome back. Check out my other videos. They're up on my page, and make sure to hit the like button. Help me out here, get this message out. What I want to talk about today is about this concept of free will and collective consciousness. Um, I was in a discussion this week, posted my 11/11 reading for the week on my page, and this topic sort of came into my mind about it. There's a lot of confusion in the world about how we both have free will, thus all the things of individuality and personal sovereignty, sovereignty, sorry, sovereignty. Um, and personal agency, but at the same time have this concept of a collective consciousness that we are all related and connected, and what we do to others, we actually are doing back to ourselves. Um, so how does this work and function? How can these two things, which seem to be opposed, actually be truth and work together for humanity to work together? How does that dovetail? So I had a dream once, and to me dreams are experiences. Sometimes they're disjointed experiences and they don't mean much, but sometimes they're very connected, and you'll have a reaction to the dream. You'll experience the dream just as you would any other experience, although you might awake to find that the consequences are not the same. And so then you have an experience of being relieved or whatever it is, that your dream isn't actually happening. But when you're in the dream, you are having an experience, and your body and everything in you reacts as if it were an experience. So they can be very powerful just in terms of the experiences that they provide to us that we couldn't otherwise have in our day-to-day lives. I have always had dreams that were extremely significant. Sometimes they were dreams that literally showed me events that were occurring at the time of the dream or soon to occur soon after the dream, exactly as they unfolded, a true premonition. Sometimes I've had dreams that are extremely disjointed and are clearly, the didn't study for the test, forgot to put on clothes to go to the store, can't make the phone call kind of dreams, that where we're working out anxieties. Of course, I've had those as well. I've also had dreams that were very coherent and extraordinary, and provided me with extraordinary experiences as a result. And I want to talk about one of those that I had today. And this is, you might call it an alien dream. I call them star nations. So in the dream, at the time that I had the dream, I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the dream took place in Raleigh, North Carolina. And in the dream, what happened was that star nations had made themselves known to people generally. And they had brought us a bunch of technology. There was a lot of changes going on, a lot of things that we used to think were very important. We were in the process of eliminating because technology made them irrelevant, no longer necessary. Um, this included vehicles and roads and infrastructure things in general. Um, and then there were also these centers that were set up where people could go, and they were sort of like a museum or an orientation center where you could go learn about the various star nations, how they operate, their histories, more about our own history. And there were, at these places, there was an opportunity for those who could handle it and wanted to do it, to actually go off-world to one of their colonies and experience how they live. And I was allowed to go, and I was taken on some sort of a shuttle type craft The technology to get to this place was extraordinary. It didn't take a long time at all. It was almost like a shuttle that moved between dimensions from point to point. Um, it was, I really can't tell you much more than that, except it was like a bus. And in that there were other people, there were seats similar to a bus structure, double rows of seats for people to sit on. And when we got there, we disembarked from the craft onto a planet that looked, as far as I could tell, like Mars or something like that. There was an outpost there, and the entire outpost was in some sort of a field or bubble, some sort of an eco field. It was like an electromagnetic field. You could cross through it, and there was oxygen on both sides. But within this field, it created the conditions for growing. And so there were gardens, and outside of the field, it was pretty much a desert-like atmosphere. The structure that we went into, which was the base, was a very large single floored from, well, there were some levels, but generally single level like structure. I don't recall it having really a lot of windows. It was more like going into a mall. And inside the structure was everything that they needed for production and everything to run this colony and to live. Quarters, places where you could get food, places where you could get stuff that you needed, places where things were made, places where things were grown and processed. All of that was going on. And then I was taken on a tour of this colony. There were star nations of all types in this place. It was truly like a kind of Star Wars bar thing with just a huge variety. They were all bipedal, like us, but they were very different looking, different colors, different looks. There were even a reptilian being, green, beautiful, jewel-colored, tall, thin, graceful, lovely, lovely beings. And everybody was very kind and very nice. The thing that distinguished this whole place and how it operated was that people did exactly what they wanted to. All the time, every day. They had everything set up so that where human or being hands were needed to make things happen, everything was set up with like a three-tiered system. So if you wanted to walk in for the day and just be there and do the work there, you could, and there'd be stuff you could do. If you wanted to sort of do it on and off regularly, a couple times a week or for a few months or something, like, there were other jobs you could do with that more intensive focus. And then there were positions that people could do who really wanted to dedicate themselves to that particular function. So there was never anything to punch, no clocks. People did what they wanted to do. And there were always enough people to do what needed to be done. And this was because they had a very high technology, and so the requirement for actual hands-on human hands or being hands was not as extensive as it might be otherwise to run such a colony. There were absolutely no need for attorneys or governments or anything of that nature, because everybody did just what they wanted. Because of this, and because they always had, everything was free, there was no money as such. If you needed something, you went and got it. The restaurants, all the food was made. People who wanted to cook, felt like cooking, loved cooking, or it was wonderful food, and you would just go and get your food and eat. There were no stressors of the nature that caused people to generally commit crime. Also, there was no regulations or restrictions on drugs or anything of that nature, recreationally or otherwise. Alcohol, all of those things were there. However, because people were not restricted in them, they simply didn't abuse them. Now, I had a guide through this whole dream, and I asked the guide specifically about this. And he explained to me that after a few generations of being completely free to do what you want, when you want, in your daily life, to be productive and enjoy your life, people simply didn't abuse those drugs anymore. All the stressors that forced people into those were gone. Education was amazing. There were centers set up in the center of the facilities where people moved and traveled. And again, people who wanted to teach that day were there working with students who worked with computers and other technology to develop their skills and their knowledge. And so it was really super high level of intelligence. And so there were extremely technical, high-level technical positions and people of that level of intellect doing them. There were positions to just simply work in the gardens, if you wanted to, or with the livestock or the other animals that were used throughout the ecosystem for balance. There were pets. People did have pets, not very many, because people didn't, they were on and off world. They were going all over. So, any rate, the reason that I share this dream is because that dream to me was an expression of how the concept of both free will, individual free will, and collective consciousness come together to create a culture and a society that can function, and where everyone is free, and at the same time where all of the problems that we have on earth with people who, exercise their free will to harm other people, how that, the problems that creates here that were not there. So I think that even though it was a dream, it was a long, involved, continuous dream. So the information, you could assess it logically, in a sense, in the way that a lot of other dreams can't be. So that is the topic that I'm going to read on. I'm going to pull the camera down to the table here, and we're going to have a look at some cards to see what the cards have to say about the concept of free will versus collective consciousness. All right, hang tight. Okay, so using the Aquarian Tarot, I'm going to do a reading on free will versus collective consciousness, as I said. I'll do a quick shuffle or two here. If you like my little color ball over there, it's just a strip of LED lights, and then I have a little glass ball paperweight that I set in front of a couple of the lights. That effect. All right, here we go. So what I want to know is what the cards have to show us about how to live using both free will and in touch with the collective consciousness. How do these two things, how do humans reconcile free will with collective consciousness, and how to function? All right. Cards say, oh, I get a drop like that. I consider that the cards speaking. All right. So, signifier, King of Cups. Cups is spirit. King of Cups is the outward expression of spirit, outward action of spirit, or expression of spirit. Challenged by the Eight of Rods or Wands. These are, passions, messages coming from the sky. They use wands here. I also use lightning and volcano for rods. It's about that fire, that life fire, the life chi that rises through things, but also that instantaneous power of lightning. So human outward expression of spirit is challenged by these things that are constantly coming in, these changing passions, everybody else's passions. At the base, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Coins, 10 of Stones in my deck. This is about legacies and inheritance. This is how it's been done. This is what's been handed down and how to live. So this outward expression of spirit is, based on this inheritance that's been handed down to us. And the past is the Moon card. So that's a card about both lunacy, moon cycles, hidden things, eclipsed things. It's about things that have been murky, that also things that move on a cycle. So you have a monthly moon cycle. So in the past, I would say that this card represents that much of our understanding about free will and collective consciousness has been hidden and practiced only in the dark. You could say this is related even to being practiced in ceremony. Crowning this, the Death card. So I think this is just saying that as long as humans walk on the planet as beings, they face this challenge. And that whatever we do, it always ends eventually in a transition. That's the thing that overhangs us, that the cycle will end. We have the Six of Pentacles in the near outcome. This is a sort of midway through the Stones or Pentacles, which is about health and body and wellness. The Six is generally thought of as a karma card. You have someone dispensing, weighing things out and dispensing to those, either according to their need or according to what they've put in. It's kind of a karmic well-being exchange that's going on, that we're allowing that to come from someone outside of us. So I would say in the short term that this challenge that we have to live both from free will and in collective thinking is what brings about the karmic cycle. Where we are in relation to it, Five of Pentacles. This is generally called the out in the cold, but it's also, sort of midway through well-being. So we're at a point of well-being where we are not working together. People are all separated from each other. Even though there is an opportunity to come together in spirit, people pass it by, aren't connecting with it. Around us, the atmosphere around us, this is the Nine of Pentacles. This is about abundance. Truly, if you were looking at us from a higher spiritual realm, you'd say, why are they out in the cold? All around them is abundance and beauty and protection an interaction, this connection with nature. She's speaking to this bird. They're connected. This bird is on her, part of her. And she's in balance. And she has a high sense of well-being because of that connection to nature. Hopes and fears. 9 of Swords. You know, we have these swords represents thinking, the mind, and thoughts. I also use feathers for it, you know, that sort of drifts through the air, or it can be propelling the flight of a bird. So feathers can be, you know, soft or powerful. Swords can be sharp. They can cut through things that need to be cut through. They can also damage things that need to be held together by slicing them apart. So in that sense, they can be both helpful and harmful. And that's how thoughts and words, you know. So hopes and fears, it seems to me that humanity gets hung up in anxiety. And it's because of this anxiety of thinking that they don't make this eminence of spirit in their daily actions. They aren't they don't have agency over their external expression of spirit and how it then functions. The final outcome, Ace of Wands or Ace of Lightning. This is a new growth, a new beginning. This is a new passion, an internal, again, that internal chi, that connection to chi. So what this is to me is that, well, hold on, let me bring you back up here, and then we'll have a little discussion about this reading. Okay, so what is this reading telling us? Let's show you that the base of the deck is the 7 of Rods, 7 of Wands, which is a defending your passions card. What this reading is saying to me is that the issue that we run up against has to do with internal passions. And we know this because when we want something and it runs up against somebody else who doesn't want that thing or is standing in the way of that thing, the level of our passion is going to dictate how hard we push against that and how hard we move forward. But the other thing that this reading is telling me is that our thoughts and our thinking, which are what are driving our intentions, confuse us, get confused. And that confuses our passions. So when we are singularly focused on our own passions, we are ignoring the collective consciousness, which is made up of all of let's say, the confluence of all of the energies of everything that is. So we have energy and we emit energy, as do plants, as does everything. And that energy collectively is the collective consciousness. And we can access that collective consciousness. We can influence it. We can draw energy from it. We can add energy to it. And that's our individual right, and our individual free will as to how we operate with and in that energy to manifest in life. But that energy is often driven by our passions. And our intentions are a combination of our thinking and our passion. And then that generates all of our actions that may or may not lead to the fulfillment of those intentions. when we have conflicting thoughts, we're going to have conflicting intentions, and we will often, you'll see all this stuff about The Secret and the law of attraction, and those things are true. When you create energy, it resonates in a way that will grow and pick up other energy that's like it along the way and resonate, and that will bring to you, you will attract the kind of energy that you put out. When we are letting our thoughts and our intentions shift about constantly just based on the moment, instead of having agency over it and controlling it within ourselves, not within others, within ourselves, we create different energies, and we divert the main energy that brings about that actual intention. And that's partly by design, because if you could focus all of your intentions in a vile and evil way and always make that happen, it'd be a pretty horrible place. So the ability of us to create and manifest is actually increased by how much we are doing it in awareness of the collective nature of the all. And it may not appear that way to us because we see terrible people doing terrible things, or terrible things by people who weren't terrible and still did terrible things. I mean, we see that happen all the time in our reality. And it would be so much worse if every negative, bad intention any of us ever thought came true. Because even though I'm not going to go out and harm another human being purposefully in any way, shape, or form, I've certainly had the same thoughts you have driving down the road when someone cuts me off. and I may have expressed something in that moment that, had it occurred, I really wouldn't have wanted to occur. You know, so we all have these negative intentions. So the system is designed so that you become more empowered and you see things happen more the more your intention is aligned with the collective highest intention. Now, my experience is that the existence of the energy in the world is as simple. You could simply call it good. The energy is good. That's the energy that's in us in life, and that's the energy of the world is good. The not good is the energy that we put out, or we take away, or we interfere with that energy of good. But if we will align with that energy of good, and then make our decisions on what to do and what to intend, and exercising our agency, we will find that it manifests much more quickly and more powerfully than our negative intentions would do. And that's how the system works. There has to be a balance. Can't be any one of us that has the power. We all individually have power. And when we work collectively together in a highest good intention from our individual free will position, what I need now for highest good for all, this is how we can work with the collective energy and actually raise humanity's level of well-being. So that's my take today and my read on free will and the collective energy. Please leave me a comment, leave a like, let's have a discussion. I'll be back on next week. If I get some questions, I'll share them. A little Manxie in the background for you, and I got another little Manxie playing on the bed video coming up for you at the end here. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you again. See ya. Duksha.
What are you doing? I'm trying to make the bed. You're not letting me make the bed. Ah, bed playtime.